What is up, you numbskulls? It has been quite the summer. Welcome to the lounge with Luke Gilfillan. I guess I should have called you guys loungers instead of numbskulls, but uh, you guys deserve it. So it's been about 3 months probably since the last time I uploaded. I don't know. I've done like 20 of these episodes over the summer, and just after I've done them, it's been like 30 minutes of just me talking to my web desktop camera, and then once I get done with it, I want to go get a drink of water or something, then I forget about the episode entirely and forget to upload it. But let's hope that I remember to upload this one. So we've got three stories today as we jump into the school year. Oh, I'll just pick that one. I guess we actually had two stories, but okay. Hold on. I gotta get the third story ready. Open.com. Chime in on COVID-19 guidelines. Here we go. All right. So this is season four, the fourth year of the Lounge with Luke Gilfillan. Wow. I am surprised that I was able to stick with this for this long, this little project. I mean, if you go to like the first episode, which is probably my most viewed episode, my voice is about 4 octaves higher than it is now. Um, for better or worse. I kind of like the old voice. I know some people had some opinions on my voice, and if you want to scan through the comment section there, you can find some things. But uh, yeah. So big news is the COVID-19 flip-flop again. We got kind of bait and switched. They were like, "Oh, you don't have to wear a mask once you get vaccinated." So a lot of people went and got vaccinated, and then they were like, "Haha, loser! Now I got to go wear it again." So the only place I've worn a mask other than my work, because for some reason I work at the River Forest Community Center and I watch like first through fourth graders all day, and for some reason they never changed their mask policies even after the CDC and whatever. So I had to wear a mask there, but I didn't very really wear it often, quite frankly. Uh, but then the only time But then when I was outside of work, I never really wore the mask, and I think that's probably similar for most people. I was reading some surveys because I'm like writing a little thing on the side. By the way, I'm starting a blog, and I will keep you guys in the loop once I start that. But I was writing for something for the blog, and I was looking through some study done by Vox Data for Progress, and they found that about like 13% of people, when asked what reason they still wore a mask even after vaccinated, 13% said it was because their work required it. And I'll just go through it all since talking about it. 8% said it was for so that they don't get judged by people in public. And then 6% said it was so that they can showcase their political views, because I guess if you're wearing a mask in Los Angeles, you get thought of as a Democrat, and that scores you points, I guess, with people. And then about 40% lied and said it was to protect themselves and others from COVID, though I imagine a lot more go into those first two categories than would like to admit it to themselves. All right. So Oak Park issues mask mandate. This is August 6th. That was 2 days ago. It was crushing news for me. Uh, yeah, I'm not a very big fan of the masks because why would I want to hide the striking jawline? All right. Masks are required indoors, encourage outdoors, says Oak Park Public Health Director Teresa Chalep McGruder. Chalep McGruder. Oh, wait, no, Chappelle, not Chalep. Because there's no L before the F. Chaapple. Teresa Chaapple McGruder. All right. Amid an increase in COVID-19 cases in Oak Park, the Oak Park Department of Public Health is requiring all individuals over the age of 2 to wear masks indoors. So once you turn 2, once you reach your second birthday and you barely learn to talk like 5 minutes ago, we're going to smack that mask on you. No breathing for you. You're going to suffocate. All right. To wear masks in an indoor public space. Has there ever been a 2-year-old that has like gotten COVID symptoms? Like seriously, those guys are. Wasn't it like the youngest person was like age 9 to get or like die from COVID? And all the other ones, I'm sure those are like they got COVID and then died for some like miraculous reason. But I don't think 2 to 7-year olds are giving people COVID en masse to the point where they need to shove a mask in their face. Public spaces, regardless of their vaccination status, according to a press release issued early this morning by the department. So you got the vaccine, you were really getting excited to take your mask off. Nope, you idiot, thinking that you have any control over whether you wear a cloth on your face. Well, you do. And it's like, if you walk into a restaurant without a mask, they're not going to stop you in Oak Park. They're not. Unless you're going to like the book table or like some really like authoritarian mask place, like what, the book table, maybe some like chain restaurants or someone that, if they don't have someone at the door telling people to put masks on, you don't really have to and no one's gonna care. But all right, the new directive takes effect immediately and comes from Teresa Chappell Magruder, director of Oak Park's Public Health Department. Chappell Magruder's order comes just days after Governor J.B. Pritzker announced a statewide school mask mandate. So even if your 2-year-old is going to school, going to pre-kindergarten, what do they call that? Preschool, preschool, yeah, go to preschool. Really excited to like talk to people, and you like have like social anxiety or whatever because you haven't got any social skills because you've been locked up for the first half of your life. Nope. Mask on the face. No, you're not allowed to see anyone's faces and develop neural recognition. I wonder if there's any like research on that, like, because babies. If you do studies on babies, all they do is look at people's faces. That's like 80% of what they do, other than like pee, poop, and scream and whine. But 80% of what they do otherwise is just stare at people's faces. And part of that is so that they can form like the ability to uh, understand human emotions, because facial expressions are very, very important. You will come to learn. Uh, but when a baby sees a mask over everyone's face every day, the bottom half of their face, all they see is the eyes, forehead. Bottom half of their face is obscured unless you're with your parents indoors. So the only face you really recognize is your parents, which is honestly the most important face. But still, I wonder if that's going to have any impact on their ability to read facial emotions in the future, because a lot of their development in that area of their brain just has not taken effect unless, with the exception of their parents. So I don't know. Yeah. On an August 4th press conference, Pritzker declared that all students from preschool through high school, staff, and visitors are required to wear masks inside the buildings. Pritzker's mask mandate impacts public and private schools statewide, as well as daycare centers. Jesus. In Oak Park, Chappelle, has there been like a onslaught of teachers and students dying from COVID? I remember in the entirety of CPS, one CPS student in this school district probably encompasses 100,000 students, if not more. One of them died from COVID, and she was 18, so not even a minor, and she had a bunch of immuno diseases and all that. And if one student in the entirety of CPS is dying from a disease out of like 100,000 people, it's fair to say that, and it wasn't, she didn't even get it in school. She got it like at a party or something. Uh, that's not a risk to students that is like what, 1 in 100,000. It's not a risk to students that is worth shoving a mask on every single student, like the hundreds of thousands of them, even if they're vaccinated. It's not a risk that precipitates that or justifies that is the better word. But we're going to do it anyway because no risk is acceptable to J.B. Pritzker except for the 60 plus people getting killed in homicides. 60 CPS students, I looked it up, this year alone, so since January, have been shot or have been killed in homicides, and one died of COVID. So I don't know, Mr. Pritzker. I think, if anything, we should do a bulletproof vest mandate for all CPS students, or all Illinois students, I guess. In Oak Park, Chappelle Magruder, that is so hard to say. It's like You got the Mick, kind of got that, the Gruder, McGruder, just does not go together well in your mouth. Mask mandate applies to businesses, multifamily residential buildings, healthcare settings, nursing home, long-term facilities, shelters, Congress. I'm not going to read all that. Basically, anywhere that the government has control over, which is everywhere. Does it say anything about restaurants? No restaurants. So I guess. Oh, businesses. Okay, so that everywhere, everywhere. That's not your own home, and even then, your own home is not safe from Chappelle McGruder's mask mandates. The village has experienced a 750% increase in COVID-19 cases in July 2021 as compared to June 2021, said Chappelle McGruder in an announcement of the order. Therefore, I have determined that the additional mitigation measures are necessary under Phase 5 to protect the public health pursuant to my authority. Listen to Chappelle McGruder's authority, you numbskulls, even if you're vaccinated. She doesn't talk about that at all. Like, what is the risk to vaccinated people? What is the risk of vaccinated people spreading it? Why do they have to wear masks? That's not explained. It's just saying 750% increase in cases because people are getting COVID because of the Delta variant. It's very transmissible. I mean, you really have two options at this point. Either you're going to get COVID or you're going to get the vaccine. One or the other. Your choice. But I guess Chappelle McGruder wants us to somehow slow the spread of the Delta variant, even though it's so transmissible. Like, one person could step onto a football stadium and everyone in the stadium gets it, masks or not. The message should be you either get vaccinated or you get COVID. Do what you want. But it's no longer our responsibility to take care of you if you choose not to take care of yourself. Listen, I understand why people should get vaccinated, but I don't understand why vaccinated people or unvaccinated people, for that matter, if they want to take the risk of, okay, I'm willing to take the risk that there's a 1% chance that I die from COVID if getting it, or depending on what risk category they're in, it's much higher, much lower. If someone wants to take that risk over getting the vaccine, I think it's probably not a good risk calculation on their part, but it's not my calculation to make. And it certainly is not Chappelle McGruder's authority to tell people that made their risk calculation and made the right risk calculation, in my opinion, by getting vaccinated, uh, tell them, oh, you have to wear the mask to protect the people that are, quite frankly, going to get COVID no matter what. Because if you're not getting vaccinated, and we're not going to reach herd immunity, I just don't think that's possible at this point. And you can whine about that all you want, like, oh, guys, go get the vax. And I think there are people that have laid their position out and they're going to get COVID and they're going to get natural immunity. So we're going to hit herd immunity. It might not be through vaccination, but we will hit herd immunity. Immunity, sorry. Therefore, I've determined the additional authority. She has so much authority. Listen to Chappelle McGruder. Last month, Oak Park reported 83 confirmed cases of COVID-19, a drastic increase from the 11 cases reported in June. So 70 people, it's like the size of 3 classrooms at OPRF. And, okay. Oak Park has had substantial transmissions of COVID-19, the release explains. The rates per 100,000 cases currently is 71 in Oak Park, which officials say indicates that the need to take actions such as masking in indoor public spaces to limit further spread, the news release also stated. Why? Why should we limit further spread? It's like the people that want to be protected from it got the vaccine, or they already have natural immunity because they already got COVID. The people that are getting it now are almost, without exception, people that have not gotten the vaccine. They've chosen to take the risk. That's the risk they want to take. They're not saying, and if they are saying this, it would be quite selfish of them. They aren't saying, I'm not getting the vaccine, so you guys better wear a mask so everyone better wear a mask so that I don't get it from you guys. Because that would be selfish, because then you just say, well, why don't you get the vaccine? Why are you telling everyone to wear a mask? And obviously there's an exception to this, like the people that can't get vaccinated, which in that case, just wear an N95 mask. It's pretty effective at stopping transmission of the virus, or to you. But because cloth masks are not going to cut it for you, you need the big, chunky one. And those people are rare, few and far between, and a lot of other diseases are going to kill them, could kill them, not are gonna, but very likely might, not just COVID. But other than that extremely rare exception, if you're unvaccinated and you're insisting that everyone else needs to wear a mask because you don't want to get the vaccine because you don't know the long-term effects of it, A, that's a bad strategy because you're probably going to get COVID either way. B, stop being such a selfish person and get the vaccine. If that's your reasoning. If you don't want to get the vaccine and you're okay with people that are vaccinated not wearing a mask, go for it, man. That's your decision. Not the decision I would make, but it's yours to make, not mine. All right. Aside from masking, the public health department continues to encourage Oak Park residents to get vaccinated against COVID-19. You know what a good way to encourage people to get vaccinated against COVID-19 would be? To tell them they don't have to wear a mask if they get vaccinated, and not to flip-flop with your messaging. Because maybe once this spike goes away, they'll be like, okay, guys, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask, and we're going to incentivize you that. But the people that would get a vaccine because it would mean that they wouldn't have to wear a mask anymore. They already know that you're going to bait and switch them again the moment COVID spikes. So and they're probably going to school and they're still going to have to wear a mask anyway. So you're, uh, you're not exactly building the trust of the public. So that's that story. Very frustrating. So more COVID-19 mask mandate news. Uh, if you thought the high school was not going to shove a mask in your face and you were really hoping that you'd be able to go to school this year and show off your jawline, well, nope. The school board is very afraid of their own jawlines and they want to wear a mask and they don't want to feel like the only ones wearing a mask. They're like, oh, everyone has to wear a mask too, so I can cover up my horrible jawline. I mean, I'm just joking. All right, later this month, hundreds of students in Oak Park and River Forest will be hundreds, thousands, man. Stop underestimating yourself. You know, media usually loves to exaggerate and pump up the stakes. Hundreds of students will in Oak Park and River Forest will be returning for full time. Thousands, man. There's 3,600 of us, or 3,200, whatever. But dude, not hundreds, man. That makes us look like a middle school. In like a small middle school, not like the Oak Park middle schools. We're not a middle school, man. We are the biggest high school in the area other than York, maybe. Alright. As district officials from the two communities prepare to release their plans on COVID-19 for the school year, parents are weighing in on existing guidance that could help keep their children, as well as staff and other students, safe. Okay, so that means masks and 10-foot social distance and keeping your heads outside of the window so that you don't transmit air through the indoors. Parents like Brian Straw and Josh Vanderberg hope students continue to require staff and students to mask up. Both fathers and young children have seen other parents at Facebook arguing for relaxed mask schools in schools. Even if you're over the pandemic isn't over yet, said Straw of Oak Park. Both my children are under 12. They can't get vaccinated. So I need you, your 12-year-old, or your 8-year-old, I should say your 3-year-old, your 2-year-old, your 3-year-old needs to wear a mask so that my student doesn't get sick from COVID, which in all likelihood is never going to kill him, ever. Alright, like, I want to add, the risk of someone under the age of 10 dying from COVID is so low that they're probably more likely to get killed by coconuts falling out of trees as they're walking by, which like 200 something people die every year from. And I think the number for people under the age of 10 who have died from COVID is like under 40. It's in like double digits. So quite frankly, the risk is not there and not enough to shove a mask on your child. And the mask is not the mask is not a seatbelt. Like, there's a lot of comparisons made between masks and seatbelts. Like, oh, wear a seatbelt because it protects you from flying out of your car windshield and smacking your face against the pavement. Wear a mask so that you don't get COVID. It's just like such a simple thing. It's not a simple thing. I mean, the ability to see people's faces is a very, very, very important part of human-to-human communication, human-to-human relationships, which is a very, very important part of people's lives. And also, you got the breathe fresh air, that's very important. And I don't think it's, I think there's a lot of symbolism that comes with masks, like you're covering something up. Like, we used to talk about masks in English class and what masks are these characters wearing, and we'd have like hours long conversations that probably could have been summed up in 5 sentences about what masks mean. And this symbolic thing of a mask is now being put on every child in America that lives in states with governors like J.B. Pritzker and cities with school boards like the one at OPRF. And I wonder what the I think there is no I don't even wonder. I think there is a psychological effect that that's going to take on people, like to have their faces covered. Like, is there like a shame component of that that's going to like show itself in therapy in 20 years, or is there like a isolation that's going to take effect when you convince people that the air around them is toxic? I wonder. I think there is something to that, and I don't think that those concerns are uh, stupid or facetious. I think that there is. I think that the risk of those things cropping up in the future is probably a lot worse than the risk of that COVID poses to uh, 8-year-olds or 3-year-olds or 12-year-olds. Vaccinations against COVID-19 are free and available to anyone over the age of 12. Straw, who has a 6-year-old son and 2-year-old daughter, said wearing masks can help slow the spread of the coronavirus and is such a small task. See, I don't think that's the truth. I think covering yourself with a mask, that is every day, or not every, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, that's going to take a toll on someone. I do. I don't think it's a small task. I don't think it's a small ask. I think that is very important for a child psychologically, and the effects of that are tremendous. And the effects of COVID, quite frankly, to children are not. Particularly for children who have become very used to it at this point. So, because a child wants to wear a mask, this is such a small task. But I think if a child is like insisting on wearing a mask to school, like, I don't think they're doing it for COVID. I don't think they're afraid of getting sick. And if they are afraid of getting sick, that's another concern that the mask might put up. I think if you have a child that every time they go to school, whether or not their friends are wearing a mask, whether or not it's like 80 degrees outside, if they are insisting on putting a mask on, something is wrong. Something is wrong that they want to cover their face, even though they haven't been sick in their life and they're not afraid of COVID and whatever. If you have someone that wants to wear a mask and is not afraid of COVID, chances are you built in some sort of psychological attachment to the mask, where if they're not wearing a mask and not covering their mouth and their face, they feel like vulnerable and they can't handle that. That's going to be a vulnerability issue that's going to crop up with them emotionally in the future. I don't think it's a small thing. All right. Uh, Oprah public health officials explain that fully vaccinated people with COVID-19 experience mild symptoms, do not require hospitalization, and are often asymptomatic. But they warn that the Delta variant of the virus is highly contagious, and it is important to think about those who are not eligible to get a vaccination. See, I understand that concern. That is a concern that I understand, those that are not eligible to get a vaccination. But, oh, I've got an Apple Watch, not to flex or anything, but it just talked to me. It keeps thinking I'm saying, "Hey Siri." See, I don't know. Even when I do say "Hey Siri," it doesn't pop up. But every now and then Siri pops up on this thing for whatever reason. See, that's the mask reason I can understand. But those people, when they're going out in public, when they're going to the grocery store, N95, man, that's pretty effective, relatively effective. Um, and with those people, um, there's such a small segment of the population that it I don't think you can enforce mask mandates on 99% of people because 1% of the population, assuming you're excluding like obese people and you're just talking about people with like rare autoimmune diseases that can't get the vaccine. I'm sorry, man, but you have to make those decisions. Like, you have to weigh different factors. Like, if 99% of the people get to breathe fresh air and uh, go out in public and see people's faces, like, you have to weigh that against 1% of people that might get, like, 10% more protection from the coronavirus if everyone wears masks and they wear N95. It's just not worth it, quite frankly. Wearing masks is a given. It's a given. Well, it hasn't been a given for me because the last time I wore one, actually I did go to Chick-fil-A a few days ago, and they had like a big sign in the door and someone waiting at the door like wear a mask. So I have to ask someone to spare like a mask, but uh, otherwise I have not worn a mask outside of work for basically the entire summer, ever since school ended. Uh, Wearing masks is a given, says Vanderberg, an Oak Park resident. Only one of his three children was old enough to get the shot and recently received the first of his two-dose two-dose Pfizer vaccine. I don't know why I'm reading words that aren't even there. My screen slant didn't know it's the right way. Okay, I've just got to double check that. As the new school year approaches, Vanderberg and Matt, you know what? I'm tired of this. Thing is, it's not worth it, man. Never was worth it. Just let them breathe, man. I know you're scared of seeing people's noses and their jaw lines and their mouths, but get over it. Who is F. Amanda Tage? Is that a new writer? When was her first article? Hold on, I gotta see when this person was hired. Okay, so they were hired in March, or that was their first article in March. Okay, so she's new, whoever she is. All right. What was I looking for? Okay. Wait, I was looking at an article, wasn't I? What was I looking at? Sorry, I'm lost myself. Fenwick jumps into bidding for Dominican's Priory campus. Oh yeah. So this Priory campus, which is actually the place I went to preschool, speaking of 3 to 5 year olds, um, this is where I went to preschool. It was a nice little place. I remember having very fond memories of like walking around this Priory campus place as a 2 year old back in 2006. Maybe I was three, so 2007. I remember it was like the year before my brother was born when I started, so like when I was 2 years old. I still distinctly remember my life as a 2 year old, surprisingly enough. I have vivid memories of like learning what mint chocolate chip ice cream looked like and learning how to sing little songs and what my teacher looked like or my supervisor, whatever they call those people, like daycare person looks like. She was like a blonde, very long hair. That's all I really remember. But uh, I remember Mrs. Betsy, who was a chronic smoker, or Mrs. Betty or something. Yeah, and how I didn't. I stopped liking tomatoes because for some reason I got served like really bad tomatoes when I was a 2 year old, and so I did not eat tomatoes from like age 2 to age 17. And then a few weeks ago, I was like, you know what? It's been 15 years. I can forgive those tomatoes that were given to me when I was 2 years old. And so I ate a cheeseburger instead of like pulling out the tomatoes as I would usually do, like just habitually. I was like, you know what? I'm 17 years old now. I can't pull out every single thing I don't like in a burger. I'm just gonna eat it. Okay. So I ate this burger, and the tomato was so good. It was so good, and I've been missing out on this for 15 years because I guess I got served like some really, really bad tomato that absolutely like repulsed me at age 2. It was like these like baby tomatoes, like this big. I don't even know what these things were. Were they like tomatoes that had just grown like 2 days out of their seed and they just pulled them out and gave them to me? I don't know. But they gave me these baby tomatoes that were so like acidic, it was like almost repulsive. And so for 15 years, because of the stupid tomato that they gave to me, I never enjoyed the pure ecstasy that came from eating a burger with a nice tomato slice in it. And I missed out on so much joy. Quite frankly, my life was not complete until I learned how good tomatoes were. And my life will never be complete. Because for 15 years, I went no tomatoes, absolutely no tomatoes are entering my digestive system. Boy, I have regrets. All right. Oak Park and River Forest High School, District 200, is not the only organization hiring prior. Oh, you know what? I don't even care. I'm not even going to read the article because, quite frankly, I do not care whether Fenwick or OPRF gets it. But I think it's super cool that they're bidding on this like giant tract of land, and they're going to tear it all down. What a waste, man! You see how beautiful this looks? See how beautiful this was? I remember going into the dining hall of the Priory campus as a 2-year-old, and it was like walking into the Sistine Chapel for the first time. Like as a 2-year-old, you do not see very many beautiful things. Like I had been to St. Bernard's Church, which is quite frankly not a good looking church. I'm sorry to anyone who got into the Lounge of Lou Gilfillan after watching my St. Luke combines with St. Bernardines episode. But St. Bernardines Church is not that beautiful. But I remember walking into the dining hall. It's right here. I don't even know if you guys can see the mouse, but it's right here, like this left building. It's covered up by a lot of this like garden stuff. I walked into this thing. I already said it. It was like walking into the Sistine Chapel and like looking up at the Michelangelo painted across the ceiling. That was what this was. And it was just a dining hall. That's all it was, but it was so beautiful to 2-year-old me. And now every person from 2022 onward is never going to have that experience inside the Dominican Priory campus dining hall. Like, you could take a poor Somalian child and ship them over here, put them inside the Priory campus dining hall, and they could have the same experience that I had just 17 years later. That's never going to happen. You know, I was planning that. I was actually getting in contact with a Somali child and his parents, and I was like, yo, do you want to see a dining hall inside a Priory campus in America? And they were like, yeah. I was like, okay, I'll buy your plane ticket. And they were coming on over, and then I heard this news that they were going to destroy it. And I was like, I'm sorry, guys. You just got to jump out over the ocean and swim back, because no reason on finishing your flight. So I refunded the plane tickets, and they jumped into the water, and that was the last time I heard from them. But point being, they should not destroy these buildings. They should convert it, maybe do some extensions, but keep like the style of it. Because this would be a super cool high school to go to. Like, let's say they're not going to do this, but let's say they created like a separate like high school part of campus here. Wouldn't this be such a cool looking high school? Like this kind of like medieval, like cathedral looking theme, like kind of like a Middle Ages cathedral. I don't even know if that's what it looks like. Obviously, they're going to have to do some furnishing, some beautification, hire 1,000 like 14-year-old girls who say they're going to become interior designers someday, and just make this thing look amazing. And then this is going to be such a good looking part of campus. It'll be like the science classrooms. I'm sure they've got some science laboratories in there. I don't know what this campus is actually used for. Maybe it's like training priests or something. But wouldn't that be so cool? They're going to destroy it, and they're probably going to do some like stupid like modern building with that's just like half of it's all glass and it's got like colors like orange and blue everywhere, and it's supposed to have like a cool atmosphere, like super great learning environment according to the newest studies. But you know what would be a great learning environment? Hogwarts. Hogwarts would be a great learning environment. You know what's closer to Hogwarts than this stupid, like, update they have planned for our cafeterias that's taking them a while, which we'll get to later. It's the next story. This looks more like Hogwarts. So I'm saying they add a bunch of flying owls, beautify it, interior design, start creating Hogwarts houses. Like maybe instead of Slytherin, they'll call it like Huskian, or instead of Gryffindor, they'll be like Rouse's house. Or wait, yeah, they'll just call it Rouse. Like they'll name it after like the former superintendents and principals, because that's what Harry Potter did. They did like the four founders of the school, so they'll do the Rouse house, the Pruitt Adams house, or maybe they'll just do the Adams house, and then they'll do the Johnson house because he's the new superintendent. And then who else? We had an equity director. I forgot his name because he got fired or whatever. He didn't get fired. I don't want to get like sued for saying that, but all right. But what was his name? I don't even remember his name. But yeah, he'll be the other one. And then you'll have to put like a hat on, and then if it turns like green, you go to the Rouse house. I'm gonna go use the bathroom. I'll be right back. Pause. All right, I think I figured out how to pause it. All right, back. Just took my poop. All right. What was I gonna say? Oh, this story. Is this the last story? No, it's not. Dang it. All right. Blah 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 blah. They'll probably use it for, I don't know. I don't even know what they plan to use it for. All right, next. Parts of Phase 1 of Imagine OPRF almost done. So there was a lot of concern that the like new like hip cafeterias that are planned for coming in next. I'm going to transition so you guys can see the headline. I'm going to scroll down so you guys can see it. All right, there we go. I got it all lined up for you guys. You guys better thank me. I expected thanks in the comment section. I wanted you guys to be like, Luke Gilfillan, thank you so much for what you have done for us. We can never repay you other than by sending you $30,000 in unmarked bills in your crush for next Wednesday, which we will happily do. And yeah, I want you guys to comment that down below, please. Follow through, man. I don't want any liars in the lounger community. New Welcome Center, student comment area is almost ready to go. I cannot wait for these student comment areas because my mom is planning to have this like giant kitchen remodel, like knocking down walls and new cabinets and all this stuff. It's probably going to take like a month, 2 months if you hire a bad crew to do it. But however long this takes, for that month, I am not going to want to be home because quite frankly, my mom's going to go crazy and she's just going to take out her anger on me or whoever's in front of her, which will hopefully not be me, but it might be me. So I'm just going to stay home until like 9 p.m. until she's well asleep, and then I will come home, taking the Pace Bus, of course. By the way, any Pace Busters, comment down below, because I'm going to be the only senior on that bus because I will refuse to drive to school. Why would you drive to school when you can hear stories from a guy who's high on marijuana, who used to work at the 4-hour pan factory in Forest Park? Why would you do it? Why? I don't understand. And some people bike. Why would you ride a bike, man? Because then you gotta store your bike helmet in your room, or you don't wear a bike helmet. In which case, you hit a car windshield and go smack and get knocked out on the curb, or not windshield, rear view mirror, no, like side mirror. That's the right word. It actually happened to a friend of mine, Vedant Mudra. I will say his name because he's the only name I don't like just non-disclose on my podcast and stuff. But yeah, Vedant Mudra. He's biking alongside Lake Street, right, going to school, and he, for some reason, I guess loses balance or whatever. I don't know what happened, but his head, and remember he wears glasses, right? And without his glasses, he's like blind as a bat. His head like smacks into the side of a side view mirror of a car, and he falls over, skids his knee, a lot of blood. Of course, Vidant's a very tough guy, so he's not like he can handle it. He shakes it off. But, well, he doesn't exactly shake it off because he can't stand. So his bike is like in the middle of the lane. Cars are like swerving around, and of course, no one's going to stop to help because it's Oak Park, and we have a bunch of selfish people here, including myself. I'm not exempt from that, though I am from River Forest. That's the only exception to that rule. I'm still a selfish person. But Eric Carlson, do you guys know Eric Carlson? Why am I addressing you guys? Like, I'm asking you guys a question as if you're going to respond to me. I don't know why I do that, but I do that with storytelling. So, Eric Carlson, who's also biking to school, is behind him, sees Banana go down, wipe out, and they're both late for school. They're probably like 10 minutes late each. But rather than scoot around him like most selfish people would do, probably not myself, but only because I'm a friend of Don's. Actually, no, I take it back. If someone like hit a windshield thing, and even if I was late for school, I would stop for them. I have to give myself a little more credit, but he stops him, helps him up, gets his bike out of traffic, and he walks him back to school, and they're like 10 minutes late, but school person, I'm sure at the front, heard the story and was like, nice job, Eric, you will get an award later today. But how does this relate to OPR construction? All right, bike helmets relates to me going in the bus. Okay, I backtracked, I figured it out. All right, so anyway, that's why you shouldn't bike to school. And also, you have to store a bike, which could get stolen, and that's an expense on you. And I guess the downside of the bus is the expense, but honestly, you get the student fare, it's like $1. And if you bring coins, they'll let you get away with only putting 75 cents on. Can't believe I just admitted to that. You know, one of my most serious crimes over the course of my life was probably been robbing out Pace Bus. Because sometimes I would run out of money on my adventure card, or I'd forget my adventure card, or I'd lose it, or something like that. I wouldn't like lose it, but I would like lose it in a pocket or inside of a couch somewhere. But so some days I would just go to my kitchen drawer, and we have this like box with a bunch of coins in there. I would just grab a few quarters or dimes or whatever. Uh, Starting out, because the fare is $1.10. So starting out, I would take 4 quarters and a dime almost religiously, right? And then eventually this coin jar runs out of quarters. There's only 3 quarters left in there, so like I take the 3 quarters, and I'm like very nervous about it because I don't have enough to pay. I'm like, is he gonna kick me off? Is he gonna kick me off? And so I get on the bus, try to make eye contact with the driver, say, "Hello, how are you doing?" He's like, "I'm doing good." He does not want to talk to me. And then I put 3 quarters on, and he very clearly notices, but he's like, "Go ahead." Now he doesn't say go ahead, but I just go, beg to ask for forgiveness and permission. Uh, so I just go on, and I'm like, hey, maybe I can save myself a quarter every day, which means by the end of the week I get a free day bus. So instead of 4 days of buses, I get 5 days of buses by just taking out a quarter. So I do this, and because our coin jar got refilled or something, or I found another coin jar, I don't know where I got the coins from, but so I do this, and so I do that for a couple weeks. For some reason, I put no effort into finding my venture card during this time, and then I realize that I'm running out of quarters again. So I'm like, okay, I only have 2 quarters this time. So I take 2 quarters, I put it on, and the bus driver kind of looks at me like, 2 quarters, man? And I'm just like, I'm just gonna keep on walking. He's not gonna stop me. He doesn't get paid enough to stop me. He doesn't get any of this money. This money's just like going to the city or whatever. They're probably not even doing anything with it. And so I do that for a few weeks, and eventually I run out. I am down to 1 quarter inside this coin jar, and I'm like, okay. And this time I was nervous about it. So I take the 1 quarter. I go up to the bus stop. I put the 1 quarter on, and I try to do my like walk, shimmer pass while like avoiding eye contact with the driver. And he stops me and was like, 1 quarter, seriously, man? How much is that fare? I'm like, oh, $1.10. I should have said, oh, I don't know. Play dumb, but I didn't. He was like, dude, bring $1 next time. And I was like, okay. I kind of walked away a little embarrassed because all the other high schoolers on the bus saw it. It was very loud. But he let me on. He didn't take me off, which I'm very grateful to him for because I'm pretty sure it was like 9:30 and I probably didn't have enough time to walk all the way over. Um, so yeah, that's my bus and quarters story. What else? We've got stories to cover. I keep forgetting about this. All right. Okay, so yeah, they're doing this thing. So I think Tim Melman, who's obviously the best Oak Park reporter out there, better than me by far. I'll admit it. I was like hesitant to admit it, Tim, and I probably waited like 2 months longer to admit it than I should have. But I admitted it eventually, Tim. You are better than me. If you don't know Tim Melman, there's an OPRF Discord, which is mostly made up of like former Roosevelt students, which is River Forest Middle School. And Tim Melman will post like updates on everything going around in the school, like 2 minutes after it's announced. Because Tim Melman watches all the board meetings, which I'm technically supposed to do for the school newspaper, but I don't watch them. I've never watched them. I like if I need something from them, I will go to the OPR YouTube channel and like scan through it for like important parts. Like if I need like a quote for the school newspaper. But otherwise, I never watch them. But Tim Melman like watches them religiously, and I envy him for it. Quite frankly, it's impressive. Like the dedication this guy has to the OPRF high school news. Like I have a podcast about it. So I talk for 30 minutes about 4 stories that I just picked out and just learned about in the moment. But this guy, if you ask him a question, he probably won't tell you the answer, but if you ask him, he will find it. He will find out that answer and memorize it. Like if you ask him, like, "Yo, exactly is the plan with the OPRF Imagine Phase 2?" Or, "We know what Phase 1 is, what's Phase 2?" It's like, "Oh, I don't know that." And then the next day, he comes back, or not the next day, but next time you see him, because I don't see him every day. I wish I did, quite frankly, I should. But the next week, he'll like bring it up in conversation, and he will know every little detail, like where this each brick is going to be laid in OPRF Magic Phase 2. It's quite an enviable skill, Tim, if you're watching this, and if you are watching this, I am quite frankly honored that the best Oak Park news person is watching this. Sorry, Stacey Sheridan, your throne has been, or you've been dethroned. What happened to her, actually? Are any of these articles Stacey Sheridan? No, they're all Amanda Tugadi. Today, Tugadi. Yeah, every single article is Amanda Tugadi. I guess she has replaced Stacey Sheridan as the #1 reporter over here, the #2 reporter, other than Tim Elman, of course. I don't know what happened to Stacey Sheridan. Wow, a lot of changes since season 1, man. Michael Romaine has been around for a long time because I think he loves what he does. Like he just writes articles mostly focused on race. And I think that's where he wants to be. I think that's just what he wants to do with his life, just write articles for Oak Park based on race. And it's not a bad community to do it, because there's a big appetite for it, so, I mean, he's living his life. He's living the life I'm sure he wants to live. Maybe he wants a bigger audience for what he writes, and maybe he'll get that someday, but as of now, he's doing what he loves to do, I'm sure. Because if he wasn't doing what he loves to do right now, I don't know what else that would be. Like, maybe he's secretly really enthusiastic about his Twitch channel, but he has to scrape by in a 9 to 5 job where he writes all day. But yeah, whatever. Basically, it's gonna look cool, hopefully, and the flow is just gonna be lot smoother. It's more open. It's more welcoming. Okay, so area will soon serve students better, offering more seating and room to gather. This is really the only seating you had if you wanted to stay at like 6 p.m. At the high school and like eat Jimmy John's, which I did a lot freshman year. Actually, I would stay. They used to have, I'm sure they still have it. I doubt they would get rid of it, but they would just have a balcony with like 8 or so chairs at it, or no, 8 or so tables at it, each with like 2 or 3 chairs. And that was the extent of the seating you had if you were staying past 6 p.m. at the high school. And so freshman year, I would a lot of times just get Jimmy John's, because my cross country ended at 6:30. This is like distant past, honestly, for me. It was like 3 years ago, unbelievable. But dang, that's like the difference between third and seventh grade. Wow. All right. So get Jimmy John's. go to this balcony, eat Jimmy John's there, do homework, and wait for debate club to start, because that started at 8 p.m. Like, it's a dedication if you're on the debate team, man. That's why if you're on the debate team, just quit it and join JSA. I'm just telling you, that's what I did. Quit it and join JSA with me. But we're a better debate club, by the way. You think that policy debate is fun? You have never tried Among Us debates. You can tell we're long, we're laid back too. But yeah, join us. No diss to the debate team, but actually I do mean a lot of diss to the debate team. You guys suck, and we are better than you. All right. The Book of Learning, also a 10 by 12-foot limestone sculpture. They're putting a sculpture in. How long do you think that's gonna last before some like kid ties like a noose to its neck and like tears it down like Saddam Hussein style? It's not gonna last very long. Um, uh, that would be. I mean, if you have 3,000 students at a school, someone is going to plan that as an end of year prank. Like, can we tear down the sculpture? Like, someone is going to be stupid enough to actually do that and like pay $5,000 in damages and get. You can get prison sentences for destruction of property over $5,000. But yeah, okay. OPRF is very tradition oriented. Blah 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 blah. So there's going to be a big sculpture. 8 all gender bathrooms. 8, man. I mean, all gender bathrooms are actually quite nice, I must admit. Despite being like kind of skeptical of like the gender stuff, personally. The all gender bathrooms, I like that thing because half the time you can just go in there and you don't have to worry about people like doing jewels in the bathroom and it's smelling like whatever. It smells like cotton candy if cotton candy was like thrown in a dumpster, like swirled around, and then they pumped like uh, carbon monoxide from a car in there. I know carbon monoxide doesn't have a smell, but whatever. They pumped like car exhaust in there, and then they pulled out the cotton candy and shoved it in your face. Like that's what the men's bathrooms smell like at Opera. Um, but the all gender bathrooms, since they're not really used a lot, despite there's a large transgender population at Opera or whatever gender thingy, like dragon gender, all that. Despite that, the all gender bathrooms are quite clean. Maybe because like people they want to keep their own bathrooms clean because it's like a personal bathroom, I guess, and they want to keep it clean. Renovations to 16 of this total 76 classrooms will be finished. 16 renovations of classrooms. New doors, flooring, and ventilation systems. That is going to be nice for room 380 or something. I don't know. The German classroom. If they put ventilation systems in there, which they better. I don't even know if I drew this year. I forgot what I picked. Over up to down have a basement, so they're putting a basement in? Basement underneath the cafeteria. The old cafeteria has been demolished. The building of this 3-story, 45,000 square foot replacement building, which includes the cafeteria and resource center, began last summer. The addition of which will feature a new basement right underneath the cafeteria. That is nice, man. I talked to I think it's the head dean at OPRF, and she said that the construction was actually going at a pace where it looks like it could be finished by the time school starts. So let's hope so. And yeah, that's all I have to say. It is currently 7:49 p.m. on August 8th, and this has been the Lounge with Gilfillan Season 4, Episode 1. Stay tuned for updates around my blog and my work for Trapeze, the school newspaper, and I will keep you guys updated on all of that. For now, enjoy yourselves, enjoy the new school year, and let's hope these masks don't last too long. See you guys. Bye, loungers.